Hey Harmonizers! Today we are doing day 2 with my little Utah Mustang who's still waiting for a name. So I'm going to be looking at the previous video to look at all your guys' name suggestions. But in the meantime, we're going to keep going, and I've got the Halter. And I started a little bit of this already, and I'll just show you kind of what I'm doing. And hopefully today we'll be able to get the Halter on this little fella. So that's kind of nice that he came over to me there. So basically what I'm doing is trying to get him to offer to bring his nose kind of through the halter by using the food as a little bit of a lure and reward. So he's totally allowed to check me out like that. Good job, buddy. And like he gets used to all the swinging of the halter. Like see how it kind of moved around a little bit there. And the idea is for him to just gain up his confidence so he's not worried about it. So that was really good. That's a really good boy. So you see his ears go back a fair little bit there, and so I think that's a lot of lack of confidence. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes through. I'm not perceiving it as dominance because he doesn't try to challenge me or cross my drive lines. He's not like creeping into my space. He doesn't do anything aggressive towards me, but I am making sure that I stand my ground just in case it is a dominant expression from him. But otherwise, like, see how he just kind of put his ears to the side there, like that? So sometimes when horses lack confidence, that's kind of what they do, but sometimes it can be dominance as well, so I do have to be careful. So I've got a little bit more hay here that I'm going to use. Might not be super enticing. And again, this horse has free access to the round bale. There's a round bale feeder right beside me. It's got a full brand new round bale that was put in there. The only difference between this hay and the hay in the round bale is that this is more of an alfalfa type hay. The other stuff, the round bale, is more of a Timothy. Mwah. Mwah. You're pretty funny. You're pretty funny. It's pretty cute. So even though I'm using food as a reward to do this, I do not recommend withholding food from your horse for the sake of training them. And I definitely do not believe in negative punishment, which is taking away from a horse or from an animal. So he is by no means, like this is not his only food source. This is just like an extra little reward piece. Plus his round bale, I'll show you, is inside of a hay net. So this is like easier hay potentially to get. Good job, buddy. Awesome. So we are off to a good start with the halter. I'm going to show you his round bale setup. And I got to get more handfuls of hay. I've got a bucket. And we'll see how he's doing. So first, I'll get my bucket. He might follow me. See? All right. A couple times he's been like, well, can't I just eat out of the bucket? And I've had to kind of be like, well, no, you can't really do that. But he's very flighty, so I definitely don't, you can see how he's kind of skittish and jumping there a little bit. I definitely don't do any form of punishment or pressure with him when, in terms of like using touch to scold him or anything like that. When he was going into my bucket, all I had to do was walk towards the bucket and he quickly fleed away. So there's no need to be aggressive with him or use any type of assertiveness. I mean, the poor thing basically shook in his boots when I walked into the pen. Today on day 2, he was really good. He was aware of me. I could tell he was a bit nervous, but he didn't run circles around the pen. So we're doing significantly better than we were yesterday. We ended on a real positive, but the goal is for him to think that he can interact with me, which is great, and that people can be friendly and people can be nice. There's no need to be scared, and really at the end of the day, we can't train horses if they're scared. So the big goal here is to have them be relaxed. Good job, buddy. And so the reason why I'm going to the halter so soon in his training in particular is, good job, buddy, I need to get into the leading pretty soon with him, and it'll just be easier if I have the halter on him. So I could do definitely more without a halter on him, but because now I have, this is day 2, and I only have one more day of training before the vet comes on the last day. I will be able to do a training session on day 4 before the vet comes, but I will need to be able to do that with him. And so if we've progressed to the halter, I'll be able to get more, he'll be more ready for the vet than if I did some of the other stuff that I typically do. So we're kind of skipping a little bit of a step that I normally would take, but we'll kind of assess and see where he's at. If he looks to me like this is too stressful for him, then I'll do more of the other stuff I would do, which is I usually do a lot of touching on both sides and things like that. For his sake, because I'm planning to bring him down to Florida, which is just a couple weeks away, and because it's kind of Christmas time, then in 2 days time or 3 days time is the last chance that I really had to get the vet out on time to pull a new Coggins. And also I want to get his teeth done and everything before I head south. I don't know the vets that are down south. I don't know who does teeth well, and I've definitely had a bad experience in the past. If you watch one of my teeth videos, I had a vet that even though she had training in teeth, I guess she was kind of new to it, and I was letting her do all my horse's teeth. And anyways, I had heard horror stories about teeth, so I decided to get a second opinion. So I asked around for Ontario who were the top recommended equine dentists, and so there were 2 of them that were recommended, and so I reached out to one and had him come up, and he went through all my horses' mouths with a camera and showed me that literally every single horse that had been done by this previous vet had cheek tooth fractures. And cheek tooth fractures are usually extremely rare, like less than 1% of horses have them. So the fact that 100% of my horses had these fractures means that the vet that was doing my horse's teeth was either floating them too much and too aggressively, that they were causing pressure and they were fracturing, or she was doing too much time on each tooth and overheating it and causing the inside of the tooth, the pulp, to die and fracturing them that way. But there's no way that you could say that 100% of my horses having cheek tooth fractures, try to say that one fast, was just by fluke. And so the other compounding evidence on top of that was that all of my new horses that I'd gotten, all of my new thoroughbreds that hadn't yet had teeth done yet, 0% of my other horses, actually 0% of the other horses on the farm had these cheek fractures. And so there were some boarders that had been on the farm. Good job, you put his nose almost all the way in that time. There were some boarders on the farm that had been here for years and years and years, and just never had gotten their teeth done when I'd had them done before, and finally got them done when this new equine dentist came up. And so those horses didn't have cheek tooth fractures, and I think it was about 5 or 6 of my horses that had previously been done by this other vet. So it's not like just 1 or 2, it was a lot of them. So I have been soured, I guess you could be, or cautioned when it comes to teeth. So I'd rather just get him done before he goes down. And because he's 3 and he's obviously never had teeth done before, being a wild mustang, so I'd like to get them done before he goes to Florida, rather than if he's with me for a while, if he's not packing on weight or something and I might think there's something wrong. I would rather just get him fully vetted out before we head down, and then I know that everything's okay. So in order to do that in the most humane way possible for him, is I need to build up his trust enough that I can lead him relatively well. And I also, once we do halter stuff and we do some leading, then I'm going to do some neck pinching. And the neck pinching is going to be to prep him for a needle, so that way I personally can give him the tranquilizer. So because he won't know my vet and we won't have progressed to that point of strangers, and I've given lots of needles before, I think the easiest way and the most humane way is that I'll just give him a needle of tranquilizer myself, and then once he gets dozy, then I'll introduce him to my vet, and he won't really know what's going on, which is best case for him. And then he can get all teeth done, blood drawn, he'll get stabbed with a whole bunch of vaccines, because I want to make sure that every state that we encounter on the way down. You encounter different things in different states, so if you are traveling with horses, you really have to be aware of what's common in those particular areas. So for example, in the New England states, not necessarily this time of year, but they have a lot of ticks and a lot of tick bites, and they can get Lyme disease, so that's really common there. I don't really know what's common in Florida, but I always defer to my veterinarians to make sure that they help my horses with whatever they need. I don't expect myself to be an expert in all areas of horse. My main area of expertise is in training horses to be calm and trusting and building their confidence. And then I leave like healthcare to my professionals. So what I like to do for my horses is I like to seek out the best in their field that I can trust, so that way my horses are getting everything that they need, and then it takes a lot of the stress off of me that I don't have to be perfect. So obviously I know a lot of basic things and I know a lot of routine things, but I don't put the pressure on myself to know any and everything, because there's a lot to learn when it comes to horses. There's tons, and we're always learning. Hello. So I know in some other places, I've been told that hay in the States, and I think in Florida especially, maybe it's Florida, I can't remember, but in the southern states, that botulism in hay can be something that's more found. We haven't really seen that in our hay. But I obviously won't be bringing my own hay down to Florida. I'll have to buy hay down there. You don't know what you're getting, so we're going to vaccinate for a whole bunch of different things, but I'll definitely be videoing his vet visit, and hopefully that's all going to go well. So I'm trying to do what I can. Today is a much nicer day than yesterday, so it's making being out here a lot easier. Of course, I have to go take my daughter to she's got a doctor's appointment, so I'm going to get to spend some time with this guy, but then I also have to go do some other things. And daylight doesn't last particularly long, so by the time I get home from my other appointments, I might be able to sneak in another session, or I might not be. So we're just gonna do what we can. Good job. So that's really good there, because that kind of caught him on the chin a little bit, and yeah, he backed up a step, but he didn't panic about that. So that's super duper awesome. All right, so I'm gonna turn off the video of this for a minute, because I'm going to probably be out here realistically for like another 40 minutes doing this, and I don't think you want to listen to me chat for that long, but I'll also show you the round bale feeder too. So I turned back on the camera. I think that the halter is going to be going on pretty soon, so I thought I would turn it back on. He's got his head up a little bit. We can kind of hear there's a snowmobile or something way down in the back. There's a flock of birds that kind of came up as well. So when he does those things, I try to kind of look and acknowledge that he's not full of crazy, let him know that I hear it too, but just I'm not worried about it. And I'll kind of show you. It hasn't been that long since I shut off the camera, actually. It's probably only been about 10 minutes or so. But I've progressed to being able to kind of put it over the one ear. And I wanted to make sure that he's comfortable with the halter kind of touching around his ear area before I leave it on his head, because if I progress to that step too quickly, then what's going to happen is we're going to end up losing a lot of trust. We're going to have some fear, and then I'll be set back a fair bit. So I want to make sure that when we go to do that, that he's totally ready. So like right there when he kind of holds his eyes open and he kind of looks behind, he's worried about something there. So I just kind of take a moment, breathe for a second. And then I'll try to bring him to the present. Hey, what's going on? If I try to put the halter on or engage with him, there we go, that's better. When he's kind of in that frozen catatonic state, it's not going to work. So I need him to be kind of aware and thinking. He's looking at different things. There's always stuff going on at the farm. There's always things going on in the background. What are you looking at? Oh, there's somebody up there doing some work. I know, I see them. I'm just not worried about it. I'm not. Can we try? Hello. So see how I let it kind of touch his ear there that was closest to me? And the reason why I'm using the nylon halter or a shaped halter, it could be nylon leather, doesn't really matter to me. I'm just not using the rope halter or the fusion halter for this step because I find it's easier. See how it kind of holds the shape around the nose? So it kind of, without me having to hold it myself, it kind of keeps that nose part wide open. Makes it easier for the horse to go into the hole for the nose. So that's why I tend to use this one. Just makes it a little smoother for doing this whole process. And then once he gets comfortable with this, then I do switch them to that fusion halter just because I find the feel is better on it. They understand it better. But in terms of just having him get comfortable wearing something, I just use something like this. You do want to make sure that it's a halter that's breakable, whether it's breakable with a leather piece at the back or with... So he took it off himself there, which is totally fine, and he's sniffing it, and so I'm still going to offer him the reward. Good job, buddy. And so the great thing about that is that I did it in such a nonchalant way, it wasn't super scary. I'm going to come pick it up. Good boy. And then I'll go get some more hay. So this will be the big test. Is this scary now, or did we do it in such a nonchalant way that it's not scary? So that's a good start. He came up and approached me, and that's really what we're looking for, is that this is just kind of a fun game, and there's nothing to be worried about it. I didn't do anything with like a real trapping mindset, and I think it's so important that we kind of remember to have love in our fingertips. So when I am touching him, or I'm touching him with the halter, I don't have the attitude of I'm going to do this to you and you're going to accept it. It's, hey bud, like, can we try this together? Can you trust me for this? It's going to be okay. I'm not going to hurt you. But not in a sneaky way, in a, you know, this is genuinely okay way. So that time I didn't go towards the ears. I just let him stick his nose in it again, because the last time I put it on his ear and then it kind of fell off. But when I placed it on behind his ear, it was placed gently, and if it does fall off, it's not the end of the world. So I like how he reacted to that, and I like how quickly he's back here with me and able to play the game a little bit more. So this is boding really, really well for his learnability. His emotional control is significantly improved. Are you pushing me to play? Are you telling me not to talk to the camera so much and to focus on you? What are you doing? I know, you got through the wrong hole. Good boy. So he is a little bit guarded with that ear now, so I went to kind of go towards his ear a bit more, and he kind of said, well, hey, I know what happened last time, so I'm going to have to build up his confidence a little bit more with that particular part of his body. But he's still willing to bring his nose over and bring into the halter, so that's good. We'll try one more with this. A bit of hay that I've got here, and then I'll turn the camera off and spend some more time with him. It just takes a lot of patience, a lot of repetition, and kind of a lot of, like, even though it looks really simple what I'm doing, again, there's a lot of little art of what I'm doing here in terms of reading what he's ready for, how much pressure to put on, when I'm going to reward, when I'm going to lure. All of those types of things are really key. So you do have to read that finer communication with the horse a little bit. But this is nice. He's chewing, he's looking around, his body posture is telling me that he's pretty relaxed with me standing here. And so I'm pretty happy with that. We're still looking off at the guy who's working on the farm over there. Yeah, we see him. We see that he's doing stuff, but it's okay. I don't hear the snowmobiles right now, so that's good at least. Still chewing. It's the one downside to using something like hay and grass is it just takes so much longer. It'd be nice if you were into cookies. But every session I'll offer him cookies, and then one day, that was better with his ear, one day he'll like the taste of them. He'll be used to them. So maybe I'll do that right before I shut off the camera, as I'm just going to take a couple cookies. I always have cookies in my pocket, or I should say I usually have cookies in my pocket. So I'm just going to see if he might be interested just to take those and try those. He's like, what is this poison you're trying to feed me? Okay, fair enough. No big deal. All right, I'm going to shut it off for a bit, guys. So I'm just showing you guys, this is the round bale feeder. He's not really eating from this side, as you can tell from the snow. There is a net around the bale. And of course, the horses, they find the one tiny little hole and make it bigger. And that's where he's been eating out of. But we use the nets, just helps make sure they eat more evenly throughout the day rather than gorging themselves and then not eating for periods of time. It also helps to make sure that they don't stick their face all the way in the round bale to avoid getting a lot of dust on them. But that's our little, we call it a diet cage, and there's a latch on the one side that opens us up like a door.
All right, so I came back a little bit later that night to, well, before it got too late, to come and do some more halter work. And so this is me working with him, and we did a couple of the halter on, and it fell off a few times, and it wasn't a big deal. I just picked it up and worked with it again. And so basically in the afternoon I had an appointment I had to go to, so I worked with him a little bit and then showed you guys the round bale feeder, and then I left for a little bit and came back, and he was still great for me to come back and work on. And so there you can see I got it up over one ear, and I didn't show you all the footage just because it would have made for a very long video. This one's already kind of long, but I thought it was interesting to kind of show all the pieces along the way. And then I was kind of working on getting my hands near his ears and near the halter, so that way I would be able to adjust it to get it over his other ear. So I worked on that for a little bit, and then you'll see in a second here he was at a place where he was okay with my hand up by his ears and kind of moving around different things. So I just kind of gently take that a little bit and just kind of smooth it over his ear a little bit there, and offering some more hay as positive reinforcement. So we were able to get that done up and over the ear. And then the next part was for me to work on latching up the halter. So I spent a little bit of time kind of picking up that throat latch and bringing it over to the hoop, and kind of working with that a little bit until we were able to just do it up there. Totally not an issue whatsoever. Putting on the halter really doesn't have to be a traumatizing experience, and definitely for the horses who get the halters put on when they are in the pens, it's actually an option before you pick up your horse if you want them to put a halter on or not. And basically they have them in the chute, and then they kind of fight with them a bit to get the halter on, and it is pretty, well, I'm going to call it a traumatizing experience. I mean, it's not abusive, but it's definitely scary for the horse to have it done. So I would much rather it do like this. Didn't take me that long to get that accomplished, and much happier for the horse. You know, he's letting me pet him and touch him, and same thing when it goes to using sticks and bags and stuff with these horses. I just think it's a lot kinder if we let them get to know us, let them know that we are good people and we have good intentions, and then we can tackle the world together. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought, and thank you so much for the awesome name ideas that are pouring in. I'm excited to name them.